Good afternoon, and welcome League members and welcome guests. I'm Bev Adamczyk. I'm a member of the leadership team of the League of Women Voters of Lake Forest, Lake Bluff area, and I am actually here today with another member of the leadership team, Emily Watts, and we are excited to welcome you to this forum for the candidates for the Lake Bluff Park District Board. We're thrilled to be here together in person. So this is our league's first in-person forum since 2019. Today's forum is being recorded for broadcast. The League of Women Voters is now in its 103rd year, and it stands firm in its mission of empowering voters and defending democracy. We accomplish our mission through forums like this and through voter education and registration events held throughout the year. As a nonpartisan, inclusive organization, our membership is open to all and includes individuals of all genders, ages, and political affiliations. For more information about membership, stop at the league table today or visit our website, lwvlflb.org. We encourage you to join us. The League does not support or oppose candidates or parties, and the League believes that meeting and questioning candidates is of the highest importance. Today, we're fortunate to be joined in this activity by our forum moderator, Jane Grover. In keeping with our League policy, Jane is neither a Lake Bluff resident nor votes in the Lake Bluff Park District. Jane is from the League of Women Voters of Evanston. She served for 2 terms on the Evanston City Council and has participated in League forums as a candidate. Jane is a former lawyer who now serves on the Evanston Equity and Empowerment Commission in her day job, leads community engagement for the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. And now I'll turn this over to Jane. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Bev, very much. Thank you to the Lake Bluff Middle School and the staff for the setup today and our bedazzled microphones. The League of Women Voters of Lake Forest, Lake Bluff, as Bev said, is a nonpartisan organization and does not support, oppose, or recommend candidates or political parties. The League does recommend that voters get to know local candidates and the issues and make informed voting decisions, and offers this forum for that purpose. As your moderator, I do not live in the Lake Bluff voting district and have just met your candidates. It's been a pleasure meeting you. This afternoon, we'll hear from the 6 candidates for the Lake Bluff Park District Board. All the candidates have agreed to abide by the rules for this forum provided in advance by our host, the League of Women Voters of Lake Forest, Lake Bluff. Some of these rules also apply to members of the audience, so let me review them. First, thank you for silencing your phones. Because the League owns the exclusive copyright to the video of this forum and photos, photographs, voice or video recordings by the audience are not allowed. The League will certainly make its video available in its entirety on the League's website, its Facebook page, and on its YouTube channel. While the candidates are welcome to offer their campaign materials outside of this room, this space is a neutral forum, not a rally and not a campaign office. We welcome your applause for the candidates to welcome the candidates and at the conclusion of the forum, but please no talking, clapping, booing, or other disturbances during the forum. It'll be obvious when it's time to applaud. The questions for this forum come from online submissions and your written questions on cards that are being distributed. Raise your hand if you want to ask a question of the candidate. The question cards will find their way to the reviewers at a table in the back, and then they will be submitted to me to ask the questions. The questions have not been submitted to the candidates in advance. Let's see, similar questions may be combined and others may be lightly edited for clarity for both the candidates and for you. And thank you to our volunteers for doing this. If you submit a question, please direct it to all 6 candidates. And one thing that we already know is that we will not have enough time during this forum to ask all your questions. We'll get to as many as we can. To the order of operations and timing, we will take opening statements and questions in alphabetical order by last name in the order in which the candidates are now seated, and we will reverse that order for their closing statements. For order during the questions, we will rotate through the candidates to be the first to answer a question. It will become obvious when we start. Each candidate has 90 seconds for their opening and closing statements and 1 minute to answer each question. You notice our timekeepers, Chris and Monica in the front row, with countdown reminders and to keep us all on track. To the candidates, please direct your answers to the audience and not to each other. And given that there are 6 candidates, I'm happy to repeat a question. So let's start with the candidates who are also your Lake Bluff neighbors. We welcome Jennifer Beeler, Don Fawcett, Paul Greenfield, Emily Lane, Rich Martin, and Constance McCabe. Now here's your first time to apply. Welcome and thank you. We will begin right away with opening statements, beginning with candidate Beeler. 90 seconds, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Beeler, and I'm serving as your president of the Lake Bluff Park District Board. Prior to my serving as an elected commissioner, I volunteered for over 6 years with the Friends of the Lake Bluff Parks. I'm thankful for the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum today, because if you're participating, that means that you want to make an informed vote. If it makes a difference to you in asking, who over these last 4 years helped develop and help keep the Lake Bluff Park District on budget? Who developed long-range plans for programming and for facilities? Who really knows the cost for maintaining and preserving your pool and your beach? And who knows how to ethically and legally be fiscally responsible for these long-term capital needs? Paul Greenfield, Emily Lane, and I are the only candidates who are sitting before you today who put in that work, rolled up our sleeves over those past 4 years, and who have the plans in place for the next 4 and beyond. What have we accomplished? $250,000 that we spent to help erosion on Sunrise Beach. We did this and so much more because we listened, we value, and we include our residents from Knollwood, Great Lakes, North Chicago, and Lake Bluff. This past year has shown us that any get-rich-quick scheme is going to divide our community and cost your taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars. That's not us, that's not this board. We want to show you what we've done and what we will continue to do when we serve as your Lake Bluff commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Fawcett, 90 seconds.
Thank you for coming this afternoon. My name is Don Fawcett. This election is not about whether the Park District should or should not convert the golf course to a wetlands. Instead, it's about the capabilities of the board to lead Lake Bluff in the next few years as it faces $11 million of capital needs to protect the beach, fix the pool, and maintain other assets. The way the board has handled the wetlands issue can serve as a proxy for how it will address the $11 million shortfall. Whether you are a golfer or a wetland supporter, I hope you will consider the board's recent performance in these 3 critical areas. First, how well has it developed and analyzed different opportunities before drawing conclusions and making recommendations? Second, how well has it built community consensus for the Park District's direction? And third, has it practiced good governance and worked well with other government agencies? In this afternoon's forum, Connie, Rich, and I will be presenting our thoughts on each of these 3 critical areas. We will demonstrate that several important opportunities to improve assets and save money have been missed. We will discuss our ideas on how a board should develop community consensus, and we will differentiate ourselves on how we would govern and work with other government agencies. Over the last few months, our team has done a lot of work and research talking to consultants in other park districts about the issues confronting Lake Bluff. We look forward to sharing what we learned. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Greenfield.
Is this on? No.
It's on, just move it closer to you. Move
It's
it
on.
closer.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. There are a lot of moving parts to the Park District. We have a great staff led by John Beeler, who we recruited and hired to manage the Park District operations. Our job as a board is to be the legislative and policy-making arm of the Park District and to represent you, the residents of the Park District, in maximizing our resources. Jennifer, Emily, and I have spent countless days analyzing, coordinating, reading, talking with a range of specialists in order to keep the gears moving smoothly. There is no getting around the fact that we have the smallest tax base among the North Shore Park districts, and yet have facilities and programs that compete with all of them. And while making sure we have programs and facilities that continue to meet the community's high standards, we have still been able to reduce Park District debt by 42% and increase our savings from 0 to over 40% of our annual expenses in just 4 years. Whether it's working out a plan to keep the pool operating smoothly for at least the next 10 years and beyond, or securing financial security for our golf course for the next 6 years with an agreement that will pay the Park District more than $900,000, or enacting strategies to limit beach erosion, we have worked hard to have a Park District with programs and facilities for everyone from infants to seniors, and to secure these assets for the future. The three of us are proud of these accomplishments and our part in making them happen. I've had the privilege of serving as president, vice president,
Thank you.
chair, and member of the finance committee,
Candidate Lane?
and I ask for your support in this election. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 90 seconds, Candidate Lane.
Hello, fellow residents. I'm honored to be here today as a candidate for the Park Board. As a nurse and a member of this community for 7...
Would you move the mic closer?
Hello?
Candidate Lane. There you are.
Hello, fellow residents. I'm honored to be here today as a candidate for the Park Board. As a nurse and a member of the community for 17 years, I'm committed to promoting the health and well-being of our residents through our parks and recreational areas. My husband, Dave, and I have raised our 3 children here and have been avid users of the Park District since 2005, starting with preschool and full circle with our kids working as lifeguards and beach attendants. Jennifer, Paul, and I believe that the Park District should be a place where people of all ages can come together to enjoy healthy activities. Whether it's paddle, the beach, preschool, the gym, or the golf course, there is something for everyone in our parks. During the COVID pandemic, Lake Bluff Park District was a source of light for our community. We were able to keep facilities and amenities open to residents throughout the pandemic. We were one of the few boards to vote to keep our beach open and open up our pool in 2020. Always following the mission, as responsible stewards of community resources, the district will enhance the community through recreational experience in a fun, safe, and healthy environment. Our public golf course had close to 30,000 rounds of golf played. Racket sports continued to thrive, and we were expanded our services to include 4 outdoor pickleball courts with our partners, Friends of Lake Bluff Parks. We are also able to expand our preschool program, adding another classroom to offer more to our growing community, all while following and implementing guidance by CDC, state and local agencies, and continually adopting policies to provide a safe and fun experience for all. Jennifer, Paul, and I ask for your support in this election. With your help, we can continue to ensure that our parks and recreational areas are a source of pride and health for our community for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate McCabe, or Martin, excuse me. Candidate Martins, 90 seconds.
Good afternoon, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for putting together this candidate forum. I see a lot of familiar faces out in the crowd today, but for those of you who don't know me, my name's Rich Martin, and myself, along with Don and Connie, I appreciate your vote on April 4th. My wife Stephanie and I have loved living in Lake Bluff since 1994. The small town charm, wonderful lakefront and beach, the quaint downtown, great schools, and of course, great parks and park district all come together to create a magnificent community to call home. We quickly realized how fortunate we were, so we started to look for opportunities to give back by volunteering in a variety of ways. Our 21 years as race director for the Lake Bluff PTO Pumpkin Chase has been a labor of love for us, as it pairs our interest in running, our kids' education, and our service to others. After becoming aware of the Park District's $11 million funding shortfall, it dawned on me that I could leverage my unique skills as a business owner and entrepreneur that would be extremely beneficial to the Park District. I would bring an innovative and strategic mindset that the Park District needs to solve its financial crisis. Exploring multiple opportunities and solutions and presenting them to the public is key for the long-term viability of the Park District. Please vote for the top 3 on April 4th, Don Fawcett, Rich Martin, and Connie McCabe, so we can return financial stability to the Park District.
Thank you. And the last opening statement, candidate McCabe, please, 90 seconds.
Hi, I'm Connie McCabe. I've spent 49 years designing educational and recreational programs for teenagers and adults, 42 years in Lake Forest, but as far afield as France, Turkey, Senegal, and China. Now, as an active older adult, I understand how important recreational opportunities are for every age and economic level represented within the Park District. I understand the importance of working cooperatively with government agencies to maximize benefits, unlike the current Park Board, which has missed out on a share of the historically large round of grants totaling $6.7 million in funding recently awarded to Lake County jurisdictions, including $600,000 each to the park districts of Deerfield, Buffalo Grove, and Highland Park. What good use the Lake Bluff Park Board could have made of $600,000. Faced with a capital funding shortfall of $11 million, the Park Board needs fresh ideas and creative thinking to build partnerships, reach consensus, and present opportunities for solutions to the residents. All residents of the Park District need to be heard. Their input needs to be considered when decisions are made. No one's voice should be excluded. That is why I'm running for the Park Board with Rich Martin and Don Fawcett, the top 3 on the ballot, literally, creatively, and
Thank you.
responsibly.
Thank you. We'll begin the questions. The first question will begin with candidate Fawcett. Question is the Park District capital plan sufficiently funded, including anticipated expenses for the pool, beach, and golf course? If no, how should this be addressed? If yes, please describe why. Let me know if you need me to repeat the question.
I do not. Thank you. The answer is no. We have a lot of very large capital expenses ahead of us. Lake Bluff Park District, the pool is estimated to cost $2 million to repair or $6 million to replace. And beach erosion protection is forecasted to cost approximately $4 million. We do not have that kind of money, and we also do not have the capability of borrowing that money without going out to referendum at this point. One of the new ideas that we would like to present is a model that the Wilmette Park District embraced with a similar opportunity working with the Stormwater Management Group in Wilmette. They were given the same proposition that we were to offer their parks for stormwater storage, and they cooperated and collaborated with the Stormwater Group. They raised $3 million through that endeavor, and the parks were restored to exactly the same condition that they were when they started.
Thank you. Candidate Greenfield, is the Park District capital plan sufficiently funded?
The Park District Board several months ago passed a motion that shows that we will have the internal finances available to fund pool repairs that will keep the pool going for another 10 years and beyond. We have always worked on the beach in a matter of stages. To go in and put down $4, $5, $6 million at one time has never been the goal of the Park District. We work with specialists who give us the best information as to what the beach needs to keep it operating in a smooth fashion, given the fact that we're at the whim of Mother Nature. The golf course, the amendment we signed with Golf Vision several months ago, pays us $9 million over the life of the contract. We have no financial risk to the golf course whatsoever. We have a $3,000 a year charge for liability insurance, and the golf course
Thank
financial
you.
future is secure.
Thank you. Candidate Lane, the question goes to you.
Can you repeat the question?
I will, and please make sure the microphone is close to you when you speak. The question is the Park District capital plan sufficiently funded, including anticipated expenses for the pool, beach, and golf course? If not, how should this be addressed? If yes, please describe why.
Okay, so I heard sufficiently funded. Okay, so our 2023 budget plan is always put out. Every year we have our budget plan and it goes over our capital needs for the next 10 years. So the answer to the question is yes, it is, because we use a budget plan for that. We always have a plan to continue to make improvements to all of our assets. It's part of the budget plan. For the pool, we will be able to do that out of our existing budget because of our responsible management of the budget, as evidenced by managing down our debt and better bond rating and smart contractual moves like our recent golf course contract. Also with our beach, we were able to do a project. And our projects in the past historically have been done in pieces, in sections. There have been 5 in total that we've done since 1976. The last erosion project that was done was in 2021 by the current board. And that's how it is done financially, through the budget planning, and we have done that. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Martin.
Yeah, the answer is no. There's really no plan that I can, we've spent a lot of time digging into the numbers in the budget, and that's where we came up with the $11 million shortfall, and there's, as far as I know, there's no plan because it can't be found anywhere. I'd like to just reiterate what Don said about the Wilmette Park District. We've spoken to literally dozens of people over the last 2 or 3 months, pool experts, beach experts, golf experts, different government agencies, and that's really where, you know, the solutions are going to come to. It's just partnering with other government agencies, whether it's the village, other park districts, SMC, the county, looking for state money, federal money. We just missed, like Connie said earlier, we just missed out on $600,000 that our neighbors, we were literally surrounded by neighbors, park districts, that got $600,000. We got nothing.
Thank you. Candidate McCabe.
Yes, the answer to the question is no, we're not adequately funded. By developing more cooperative, collaborative working relationships with other agencies, including stormwater management, just to name one, we have access to more professional teams of grant writers who have a greater possibility of having their grants approved because they're known to be reliable, cooperative partners, unlike having their grants denied, as has recently happened. Also, whenever you send a contract out whenever you sign a contract without sending it out for competitive bidding, that's costing you money. The Golf Visions contract was not competitively bid, and there also is a loss of money. Also, another option for pool repairs is to develop a pool within a pool, the MRTA system. That can save 30% in repair costs for the pool, and that option was never even explored. So creative thinking is needed. New solutions are needed.
Thank you. Candidate Beeler.
Thank you. To start off, folks, Wilmette has a $75 million project that took 11 years to come to fruition. So let's really put this into perspective. If we have costs for the pool, as Paul's already said, we have the internal funding to be able to address short-term and long-term capital needs for this pool for the next 10 years. If you're looking at building a new pool, that's going to be you as the community telling us that you want a new pool. On the beach, we break it down into increments. We've got $4 million that needs to be spent on the beach if we're going to combat erosion. We already addressed $250,000 of it. We've been able to look at grants in the past, be able to raise this kind of money. It's really going to be incumbent on the community as well to say, what's going to be interested in this? Where are people going to put their money to be able to raise this for the beach? But we are committed to break it down into smaller pieces. That's how we've done it with the Park District for years. That's how we will continue to do it. Because an $11 million price tag, thank you.
Thank you. We'll begin the next question with Candidate Greenfield. This is a question that comes from the audience with appreciation for legible handwriting. It was reported in the Daily Herald that $6.7 million was awarded in state grants to other Lake County park districts. What is the plan in the future to ensure we are not missing out on these opportunities?
The grant process is not a simple process to go through. First of all, grants today, the grants that are being handed out by the state of Illinois, as well as by the federal government, require that 50% of that grant money goes to disadvantaged communities. So when you see that headline number, half of it is going to disadvantaged communities. Secondly, every community does not get a grant every time we go through a grant cycle. Grants are handed out to different communities at different times, and it's just not possible for any community to get grants every time. We've had a grant to do a new entranceway to the beach, which we had 2 years ago, a $350,000 state grant. We are preparing for further grants, and we're getting the plans ready and the drawings ready and the engineering ready so that when a new round of park grants comes up, we will be prepared to apply for that grant.
Thank you. Candidate Lane, 1 minute.
We are always pursuing grants. We have received grants in the past, and we will receive grants in the future. Like Paul said, we got the grant for the beach, which was $350,000, and the Facilities and Programs Committee has been working with architects and engineers to do the pool renovation that we have a plan for, and we will be applying for the Osland grant this year. We have also received past grants and have applied for other different grants that we did not receive. The biggest one was with ACOM, and we had the ACOM help us do the grant, and we did not receive it. The other big one that we applied for was the park grant, and we did not receive it in 2019. So we are always applying for grants. We do not receive them, and we will always be applying for grants. We also work with our open lands, and they help us take care of our land, and they've received grants. Those are smaller ones. So we are always pursuing grants, and we will always be doing that, always.
Thank you. Candidate Martin.
Yeah. So if the current board is constantly looking for grants and applying for them and not getting them, something's obviously wrong. Because, you know, you got communities like Deerfield, Highland Park, Buffalo Grove, Libertyville, they're getting $500,000–$600,000 in grants that were just announced on Friday. So, and I don't think those are disadvantaged communities. So I think the important thing is to work collaboratively up and down the road, you know, state, federal, local, county. And, you know, my experience in business is that you never burn a bridge. You make sure you develop relationships with your vendors, your customers, your employees, everyone that you're working with on a daily basis, because people like to do business with people they like, and it's the same thing in government.
Thank you. Candidate McCabe.
The main funding source for the current park board seems to be the referendum. They've already paid a referendum consultant tens of thousands of dollars and received the advice that a November referendum is most productive and they should go for one for the beach. With those results, the current park board stated, well, we'll just find pool funding elsewhere. And this is a pool that's losing 3,000 gallons of water per day. They can't afford to wait to find a solution to the pool problem. It was also interesting to hear the current park board say that the community needs to have a say in the process, because this park board did everything they could to block the referendum on the wetlands and the golf course. The referendum only happened because other people, including Don and Rich and I, worked very hard to have a referendum. And even so, the voters of Knollwood were excluded. So that does not constitute listening to the wishes of the community.
Thank you. Candidate Beeler. The question to repeat. There are 6 candidates, so it's takes a long time from when I first read the questions to when we get to the last couple candidates. It was reported in the Daily Herald that $6.7 million was awarded in state grants to other Lake County park districts. What is the plan in the future to ensure that we are not missing out on these opportunities?
What you have to understand about grants is that most of these are at least a 50% contribution by the park district, a 25 to 50% contribution. We, as this board, took our bond rating from an AA minus in 2018 to an A plus in 2020. And we haven't been reviewed yet, but we're putting ourselves in a better fiscal position. We applied for a grant for the beach. We were not successful, but we are getting ourselves ready now by investing in engineering, by investing in studies, getting ready for a grant, because now we are in a better financial position, because if you get a $600,000 grant, where are you going to get the $600,000 from the Lake Bluff Park District to match it? We're in a better position now financially to be able to apply for grants and be able to use those grants. When you look at the grant that we had to fix the beach, or the stairs to the beach, the park district had to put in $25,000, and we weren't expected to put in anything, but we had to do that because there was concrete underneath those stairs. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Fawcett.
I think the bottom line is, are we getting grants or not? And as that article that has been referenced shows, we're not getting them at the same rate as other communities. So that's how you would measure success with that. I want to go back to a comment made about the pool, and that the pool can be repaired, and the repairs will last for 10 years. The 2023 budget has $0 allocated for capital for the pool. I'm kind of wondering how we're able to run the pool on $0 of capital for 10 years. It's a 50-year-old pool, and it's leaking. The executive director, Beeler, which is not Jennifer, it's another Beeler. If you read the minutes and notes of the meetings, every time he says, I can't guarantee the pool will not close and have a failure. So I don't think that's a good way to run the park district sort of on a shoestring, hoping things do not break down.
Thank you. We begin our third question with Candidate Lane. Candidate Lane, what are your spending priorities for the Lake Bluff Park District within the current budget? What are your spending priorities for the Park District within the current budget?
Can you repeat it one more time?
Question is, what are your spending priorities for the Lake Bluff Park District within the current budget? 1 minute.
So spending priorities, we go back to the budget plan. We evaluated through each committee. There's 3 different committees. There's the Finance Committee, and the Finance Committee goes over all of the budget items. And everything is allocated based on staff and through the committee's work of investigating what's the best, what needs to be done, what services are being provided, the costs come into play, and so it's all discussed at finance level, at committee levels, finance, at the Facilities and Programs Committee. And so the spending priorities are broken up into pieces. As you could see on the website, the budget plan has everything broken down for everybody to see. If there's ever a question about spending for capital needs, it's in there. For the pool, there was $60,000 done last year to do repairs. If it's below $10,000, it is not reported in the capital. It goes into operating. It is not on the capital expense list. So the priorities are in every area.
Thank you. Candidate Martin, your spending priorities for the budget.
Yeah, I would dovetail with actually what Don said earlier. I think the biggest priority right now is the pool. We're not sure if year to year that thing's going to open, and I think they had record numbers this year. So when we first started digging into this, we thought it was going to be the beach, and the beach does need a lot of work. There's no question. But with the lower lake levels that we've been experiencing the last year or so, there's a little bit more time there. However, it'd be better to try and do something there sooner rather than later, because when you get the lower lake levels, then the costs for doing a lot of heavy-duty work there come down because not everyone's in crisis mode. So I would say the pool is the biggest priority right now for getting that situation solved.
Thank you. Candidate McCabe.
An analysis of the 2023 capital budget of the Park District reveals that capital spending for the Park District's top 3 assets are pool, $0, beach, $60,000, golf course, $50,000. One should also realize that these priorities do not match the last survey done of the public, in which golf was listed as their 6th or 7th priority, and yet it is second in the capital funding made available to it, with nothing allocated for the pool, which was ranked as the number 2 priority by the public. So the public needs to be heard, and their priorities need to be met. Currently, 20% of the beach is currently unusable because of the concrete that has washed up on it. That could be fixed for a mere $20,000. That needs to be a priority.
Thank you. Candidate Beeler.
If the question is spending priorities for the upcoming year, we have $20,000 to $30,000 already allocated for the beach, for the cleanup, for the rubble. We spent money on a surge tank, and I'm not talking about fun stuff. A surge tank for the pool for last year, and spent, as Emily Lane said, $60,000. I have the budget in front of me, and we have spending for the pool this summer. We have to have that. We've got 12,300 residents who come and use this pool, and that's a high priority for us. But I'm going to talk about other budgetary needs that we also have to meet. We're going to be number 3 for the stormwater utility tax. 23.5 is going to be assessed to the Park District, and we're going to have to meet that this year. We're also going to have to renovate our use of gas-powered leaf blowers, and we thank the village for that incentive to do that, but that's going to be at least a $10,000 to $12,000 hit to our budget that we're going to have to make some quick pivots with what we have in plan to be able to be greener and better for our community. We also have to, again, not attractive stuff, but thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Greenfield.
Fawcett.
Fawcett, sorry. My apologies.
No problem. I think it's important to go back to the Wilmette example here for a minute. The Lake Bluff Park District has a budget of $6 million. If you look at Wilmette, you look at Highland Park, you look at other park districts, their budgets are in the $20 to $30 million range. To solve our problems, we're not going to get there by just saving a little bit of money here and saving a little bit of money there. We need like a big opportunity. The stormwater agency that approached the park district and said we need help finding a place for stormwater storage has millions of dollars to spend to address that problem. At Wilmette, they talked to the group that needed the problem solved, and they worked out a deal where they were paid for coming up with a solution that lowered the overall cost. There's a potential for millions of dollars for our park district by cooperating with agencies like that. We have not even talked to the stormwater agency.
Thank you. And now, Candidate Greenfield.
There are really no rabbits in hats that can be pulled out regarding the Park District finances. The Park District staff and board worked very, very hard and very, very diligently to put together a plan that provides first-class facilities for all of us. And it does so in a sustainable way, and it does so in a way where we don't have to constantly run to you, the taxpayers, to ask for more money. We have looked at plans, despite what's been said. We have talked to SMC, for example, about stormwater easement payments. And we have never been able to get any kind of a figure or any kind of an amount that we could make from allowing stormwater management to flood our golf course. It is not that we don't plan. It is not that we don't look at these things. We work very hard. We're open to all of these plans. We continue to work hard in order to be fiscally responsible while providing the capabilities, the facilities, and the programs that we do.
Thank you. Our fourth question will begin with candidate Martin. The question is two-part. What steps should be taken in light of the Illinois Attorney General's sanction of the Park Board for violating the Open Meetings Act? And how would you ensure transparency in the board's decision-making? The question is, what steps should be taken in light of the Attorney General's sanction of the Park Board for violating the Open Meetings Act? And how would you ensure transparency in the board's decision-making?
Well, I think the first portion is just follow the law. The Open Meetings Act is fairly straightforward, and I know the Park District lawyer did at least one presentation on it within this past year. And then, if I remember correctly, in the same meeting, they violated the Open Meetings Act about 30 minutes after he went through his presentation. So, but yeah, transparency is a big deal, and it's a big deal to Connie, Don, and I, and we are going to do everything we can to make sure the public knows what's going on. We're not going to be meeting in private. Everything's going to be public, and if we do make a mistake, we're going to own up to it, apologize, and try and move on. But we certainly don't have any plans to break the law if we become Park Board members.
Thank you. Candidate McCabe, 1 minute.
Transparency is the key. And unfortunately, when the Open Meetings Act was violated, it was in regard to the Golf Visions contract, which was not sent out to be competitively bid, and was renewed 15 months earlier than necessary, to the tune of $4 million. I also believe that giving accurate information to the public is the key to transparency. And accurate information has been repeatedly denied to the public. In our interactions talking to people around town, they have bought into the half-truths that have been presented to them, such as the fact that there is no legal pathway forward, when in fact, a legal pathway has been outlined by the Army Corps of Engineers, by Stormwater Management, and other legal agencies. Also, in regard to the $23 million stormwater tax, I attended one of the meetings regarding that tax at Village Hall and was told it could be reduced.
Thank you. Candidate Beeler.
Thank you. The Attorney General finding on the Open Meetings Act is one we take very seriously, but you really need to balance what was said and what was done. It's not about a competitive bid. It was about an attempt to overturn a passing vote on the Golf Visions contract. And the fact that even before this complaint was brought to the Attorney General, our Park District Board had already taken remedial action. It was an informal golf committee. We formed a formal golf committee. We invited members of the community to be able to participate in this, and it was already in effect by the time this complaint was brought. There were no further actions taken by the Attorney General because of this finding. So again, I'm not passing this off as something light. This is something that we learn from and we will continue to learn from. But the fact that the board already took remedial action is extremely important for all of you to know and to know why that action was brought.
Thank you. Candidate Fawcett.
Obviously, it's a very important matter to be awarding a contract, the largest contract that the Park District has. It's a $4 million agreement over 5 years without competitive bidding. So I find it very troubling, frankly, that that took place in violation of the Open Meetings Act. I also want to mention, just in terms of transparency and being able to work with other groups, in terms of the Stormwater Agency, how well are we working with them? I was recently given a copy of a letter from the Stormwater Agency to the Park District Board asking the Park District to retract statements it has made about the wetlands, saying that they were false and misleading. I don't know if the board plans to make that letter public or talk about that issue, but clearly there is a lack of dialogue between the Stormwater Management Committee and our Park District Board.
Thank you. Candidate Greenfield.
When something seems too good to be true, it usually isn't. That saying was never more appropriate than with this proposal that was made to take away and destroy our golf course and our use of that land in perpetuity in order to put wetlands in its place. That was found to be illegal. The proposal then made by Stormwater Management, which was a loophole, we could not get a legal opinion from the Army Corps of Engineers or Stormwater Management that would show us the legal pathway to proceed with that loophole. And it would have potentially cost the Lake Bluff Park District and its residents and taxpayers, you, $3 million or more if we had taken those steps. We have acted responsibly, we have acted openly, we have acted responsibly with all of our contracts, including the Gulf Vision contract. And we had no sanctions placed against us by the Attorney General. This was not violated in any way.
Thank you. Thank you. Candidate Lane.
Okay, so for the OMA, so I know that when we were told about that there was always two commissioners, and what I've learned that other government entities, our village and our Lake Bluff Library, also task their trustees with two folks to research and bring back to board. We did exactly what the other government agencies do. I know this is a fact. You can look at the other government entities and check it out. For the transparency part, we pride ourselves on transparency as evidence that the addition of packet of information to the agenda, the change policy of statement of visitors to include all comments regarding Park District business, and the formation of a citizen task force committee to discuss the stormwater project. And the project that was proposed to the community was not fiscally responsible for the Park District. As we learned from the research and analysis, Kurt Wolford, Executive Director of SMC, stated the final alternative preferred approach was the addition of restrictor plate, quoted, more importantly, by
Thank
using
you.
the restrictor plate, the 8 acre-feet of flood storage capacity was no longer necessity, saving the community
The next-
$1.4 million,
the next
a
question.
win-win.
The next question begins with candidate McCabe. We finally got to your end of the table, candidate McCabe, to begin a question. The question is about the golf course. What are the capital needs of the golf course, and who pays for those? Gulf Visions or the Park District? This is a question from our audience here today. What are the capital needs of the golf course, and who pays for those?
I will say that the capital needs of the golf course, the portion of which is ascribed to the park board, is underfunded by every golf course professional we have talked to, including golf course bankers. They look at the figures and they say, we are grossly underfunded. Sitting at the farmers market table all summer long, I can tell you that people come by time after time and say how the golf course has deteriorated, how it's a high school course. The plan was never illegal, and you can go to our website right after this meeting and see the legality. The park board has been asked by the lawyers of stormwater management to retract their falsehoods, which they continue to perpetrate. But we have also, through our investigations, arrived at a stormwater wetland developer, actually a wetland developer, who will assume any and all risk for the development of the wetlands, keep a 9-hole golf course, and pay the park board $3 million.
Thank you. Candidate Beeler.
I'm sorry, the question is about the golf course?
The question is, what are the capital needs of the golf course, and who pays for those?
This is why we have open meetings, because we would welcome all people to be able to attend our golf course committee meetings, as well as our budget meetings, as well as our board meetings, so you understand what happens. The Gulf Visions contract with its new iteration, pays for the capital needs for the golf course. It relieves an amazing strain on the Park District in terms of finances, because the money that Golf Visions is going to be paying us, and they've paid us more this year than we have in the prior years with the Golf Visions contract, those funds are going to be put in a segregated fund and then put back into the golf course capital needs. So everything that you see in our budget, all these long-term capital needs for the golf course, are going to be self-funded because of our contract that we have in place. We don't have a stormwater problem in the Lake Bluff Park District. We would happily work with other entities and agencies if we had a stormwater problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Fawcett.
That's exactly right. We do not have a stormwater problem. We have a stormwater opportunity. And that opportunity can help fund many of the things that we cannot fund today, because we just have a very small tax base to support our park district, and we have a lot of amenities. The cost of, my understanding for a golf course, 18-hole golf course, typical capital budget is about $250,000 a year. We're not anywhere near $250,000 a year. The Golf Visions agreement, I think, does help in a small way. It covers any capital costs that are $10,000 or less. But you know, mowing equipment and most of the kind of work that you do for a golf course is going to be more than $10,000. So we end up having to pay for most of those capital things for the golf course.
Thank you. Candidate Greenfield.
The current agreement we have with Golf Vision will pay for all capital needs of the golf course. And I have to say, with the money that we're getting from that contract, $900,000, with no risk to the Park District, is the envy of other area golf courses who are paying a lot of money in the same way that Lake Bluff paid a lot of money to Billy Casper Golf and then for its own budget to support the golf course. So there is no question in my mind, the so-called golf experts who talk about needing more money, that the golf course is underfunded. You know, you can go to the Glen, you can go to some of the great courses in the Chicagoland area, and you can say we're not at their level. We are a really good community golf course. That's what Lake Bluff Golf is. We're a community golf course, and we're a good community golf course that people enjoy playing. Golf Visions is doing an excellent job managing the course, and the community will have no liability, no financial liability whatsoever towards that golf course.
Thank you. Candidate Lane.
When you think of the golf course and Golf Vision, you think partnership. Partnerships are essential to the Lake Bluff long-term viability. We voted to amend the golf course contract and extend the partnership, and this partnership took an asset that was losing money to an asset that is generating revenue for the Park District. The Lake Bluff Golf Club is no longer a financial burden to the community, and we will continue to work with partners that are aligned with the Lake Bluff Park District mission and vision. And we are super excited about our golf committee, and so look forward to the golf engagement that's coming from that. Thanks.
Thank you. Candidate Martin.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes. The question is, what are the capital needs of the golf course, and who pays for those? Golf Visions or the Park District?
Okay, so just to reiterate, this year we have $50,000 allocated to the golf course for capital needs, and most, or pretty much all of the golf experts, we said that needs to be $250,000. So we're about a fifth of where we need to be. And it shows. I mean, everyone I talk to who's a golfer is like, yeah, it's sort of our rundown. It's one of those places, it's, you know, it's nice if you live there, but it's one of those places you go to if you're, you know, everyone else is booked up. So, but there's a lot of, you know, and the deal is definitely better than it was before, but we don't know how good it is because no one else bid on it. So maybe we got a good deal, maybe we don't. But there's, you know, golf cart paths, the clubhouse, the irrigation system, those are all going to break down pretty soon. And those are into the millions. And Golf Visions will not pay for those. Guarantee that.
Thank you. A reminder to the audience, if you have questions you'd like to ask the candidates, please pull aside a volunteer from the league and submit your questions on the cards. They are finding their way to me. And thank you to the candidates for being mindful of our timekeepers. Much appreciated. We've done 5 questions so far. The next question begins with candidate Beeler. How do you ensure the Park District engages and meets the needs of users of different ages and interests?
First off, I have to credit our staff. They are phenomenal because they work with other park districts to see what is being offered in other communities. And I will agree with Mr. Fawcett. You know, we have a small asset base, a small tax basis to go from, as opposed to Wilmette, Winnetka, Highland Park, and so forth. But we keep ourselves competitive as well. Our day camp is always overflowing with the number of registrants, and we make sure that we keep ourselves competitively priced. We want to offer services from cradle to grave. We have something there for new moms to be able to walk the Park District track with their strollers. We have senior fit. We have pickleball. We have golf. We want to make sure, by working with our staff and working with Chair Emily Lane, who's on the Facilities and Programming Committee, to make sure that what we're offering is going to be interesting, it's going to be different, it's going to be competitively priced, and more important, one of the goals that we have as a park district is to make sure that each program is self-funding. Thanks.
Thank you. Candidate Fawcett.
I think the current board has done a good job with program offerings, and I think we have a good program across the board. So I don't have any complaints about that or anything to really add to that. I do want to bring up another thing that we've been working on to help advance the discussion about the wetlands. It's been said that the project is illegal. My background is in purchasing, and I, together with Connie and Rich, wrote an RFP for wetland developers to actually propose on building wetlands for us. We have a submission, a proposal to take all of the risks that have been identified and for the contractor to take on those risks and pay Lake Bluff $3.5 million. This contractor has been building wetlands in Lake County for 30 years and has successfully developed 25 wetlands. I find it hard to believe that somebody with that experience would submit a bid for something that they thought was illegal.
Thank you. Candidate Greenfield.
One of the things we don't do with our outstanding facilities that meet the needs of residents from infants, as Jennifer said, from infants up to seniors, is we really don't get rid of programs and facilities that we have. We're trying to expand the programs and facilities. We're trying to expand the number of people who can utilize these. We're not looking to contract them. We're not looking to take things away for a short-term gain, potentially a short-term gain, and then take those activities away from people who really enjoy them and enjoy using those facilities and programs. The short-term gain is not worth it. We are looking at long-term sustainability to expand our programs and facilities to the maximum extent possible so that they reach the maximum number of residents that we possibly can. That's the goal that we have, not the goal to destroy things for a short-term gain.
Thank you. Candidate Lane.
So thank you, Don and Jennifer and Paul. I agree. We have awesome programs. And yes, I'm the chair of the Facilities and Programs Committee, and I love being part of it. I'm a big, again, user. I said that earlier. We are always looking at the different programming and seeing what works and listening with staff, and the staff is listening to their users. And that is why we expanded that preschool classroom and we added a whole new room because we had a huge wait list for preschoolers. So now we are able to take in our families, there's more classrooms for our children. We also listen to the growing pickleball. Everybody loves pickleball now, so we listened to the community, and we added those pickleball outdoors, and we're getting so many users. I think we had like 700 different users using it, so we're getting lots of different users. We have so many different activities, from golf to cross-country skiing in the winter. We have everything that you can imagine, and if you ever have an idea, please email us. That's what we have the email for. We are open to it, and we just have to make sure that it fits in the budget, and it's part of our community and what our community needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Martin,
Can you repeat the question again?
gladly. How do you ensure the Park District engages and meets the needs of users of different ages and interests?
Yeah, I would dovetail with what Don said earlier. The Park District has always done an excellent job of offering a multitude of opportunities. Our 26-year-old, almost 27-year-old daughter went to preschool at the Park District when it was over at the Methodist Church. That's how far back it goes. This is way before they even built the rec center. I've been a fitness center member since it's opened in 2001, I think it was. We're avid pickleball players. We don't go to the pool as much as we used to, but we pretty much lived there every summer when our kids were younger. So that's like it sort of dovetails with what I said in my opening statements. It's one of the great things that make Lake Bluff the special place that it is.
Thank you. Candidate McCabe.
I'm so glad this question got to me. I have a lot to say on the topic. First of all, elderly access to the pool is non-existent. The only access in and out of the pool is via ladder, and there are plenty of pools, including my hometown pool, that had staircases that could, with handrails, that could make access to the pool easier for everyone. Secondly, access to the beach is non-existent except for a few weeks a year when there's a lifeguard with a golf course. Other than that, how is my 94-year-old mother supposed to get down to the lakefront? It is not possible. I live over by West Park. Yes, we got a new jungle gym. Other than that, there is an expanse of land which is completely unused. The 3 baseball parks are not used. It would have been a perfect place for a shelter, outdoor game tables, and bocce ball, all of which were funded in the $6.7 million grants to other park districts in our Lake County.
Thank you. Our 7th question, and we've clocked in at an hour now. We may have time for 2, maybe 3 questions and closing statements. Our next question comes from the audience here. Thank you very much. And this begins with, Candidate Fawcett, you're next up. What were the recommendations of the Wetland Task Force, and can or should they still be taken into account in future decision-making?
The main recommendation of the task force was to meet with the Stormwater Management Commission and discuss the opportunities available. There are a number of them. One of them is, as Paul said here, essentially to grant an easement to have stormwater come onto the golf course. Another one would be to build a wetlands. Our group here is agnostic to both of those opportunities. We think we should be having the discussions and present to the community what the value of each one is, and let the community weigh in and decide whether it wants to keep the golf course and, like Wilmette, raise money through that process, or whether it wants to develop a wetlands. But we're not going to get to that opportunity unless we're able to have a dialogue with that group. And as I said, there just isn't any dialogue going on today. And in fact, all the communications are via attorneys and complaints about false comments and things like that. So we really need to just sit down with that group and have discussions with them.
Thank you. Candidate Greenfield.
Could you repeat the question, please?
For sure. What were the recommendations of the Wetland Task Force, and can and should they still be taken into account in future decision-making?
When the board started looking at the proposal to put a wetland in place of the golf course, we began doing our homework. Jennifer, Emily, and I put in countless days, not countless hours, but days, studying, talking with experts, looking at everything we could to learn about wetlands and what it meant. And we also talked with our attorney and with other attorneys. The task force was one piece of the information that the board looked at. We got some very good information from the task force, which we used in looking at the opportunities that we might have. And as I say, at the end of the day, we found that the course of action that was initially proposed was found to be illegal. The loophole that was then proposed was not found to have any legal pathway that we could take in a responsible manner towards the residents and taxpayers of the Lake Bluff Park District.
Thank you. Candidate Lane.
I agree with Paul. The task force was tasked to bring information back to the board, and that was part of it. And there was other research that was done. It was just like any other research that we do for any of the other projects that we do. But the project that we're talking about is the SMC project. That project, again, was proposed to the community, and it was not fiscally responsible for the Park District to do. We learned it from the research and analysis. And again, Kurt Wilford, from the executive director of SMC, stated that the final alternative and preferred approach was the addition of the restrictor plate because it saved the taxpayers $1.4 million. And he said it was a win-win. And I feel like we did a good job when we participated in that, saving the community $1.4 million.
Thank you. Candidate Martin?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes. What were the recommendations of the Wetland Task Force, and can and should they still be taken into account in future decision-making?
Yeah, so I'll dovetail with what Don said. The main thing I got out from Steve Krause's presentation was he said, meet with SMC, meet with SMC. He sent it countless times. And that never happened after that point. The only people talking between SMC and the park board are the attorneys. SMC, the head of SMC above Kurt, actually sent the letter that I think Don referenced earlier, asking them to retract their false and misleading statements. So that whole relationship is pretty broken. But I think the main thing is there's a lot of really good information in there, and there's a lot of opportunity, not only just to establish wetlands, but to work with them in a variety of ways that will be beneficial to the park district. So you got to always, like I said before, you never burn a bridge. You got to keep those lines of communication open so everyone benefits.
Thank you. Candidate McCabe?
The task force put forth 7 possibilities for what could happen with the wetlands. And I greatly looked forward to attending park board meetings and hearing the discussions about all the different possibilities that were put forward. So I dutifully attended the meetings. There was never any public discussion of the options. Instead, it was announced that a decision had been made, then the contract was signed 15 months earlier in hopes to negate any possibility that something could happen. This is not an open and transparent park board. I then proceeded to attend the golf committee meetings in which they tried to erase any mention of amendment to the Golf Vision's contract with the words wetlands in it. They moved to erase every single amendment that would allow for any further consideration of any other possibility. This is not open. This is not transparent. This is not asking the citizens of Lake Bluff what they want.
Thank you. Candidate Beeler?
If I heard Mr. Fawcett and Ms. McCabe correctly, they're talking about entering into a request for a proposal with a private wetlands developer with the Lake Bluff Park District lands. I want to make it really clear that this is not an issue that has come before our board, and it's not an issue that we're currently discussing, but it sounds like individuals are going into a private contract with a private wetland developer about your Lake Bluff lands. I want to be really clear here that the task force came forward with a lot of interesting things. It's not just SMC and the golf course. SMC is working with the village. SMC also has other watersheds. And as always, our Park District Board is open with working with the village, with stormwater management, because it's going to affect everybody in Lake County. And so we know that there are other meetings that are going on other watersheds that are going to affect the western part of our Lake Bluff Park District community. And we are open to continue to working with them about possible solutions. Again, fortunate that we don't have stormwater problems on our golf course, or excuse me, on our Park District property, but we know we have to work as a community.
Thank you. Our next question, we're going to do lightning round. Yes, no, maybe, real easy. Would you consider offering a silver sneakers program for seniors, starting with candidate Greenfield?
Before I answer that question, I have to go back to a previous point that was made. Our responsibility as commissioners of the Lake Bluff Park District is to all of you. It is to the residents of the Lake Bluff Park District. Our responsibility is not to a private developer of wetlands. Our responsibility is not to stormwater management. Our responsibility is to you. And that is how we look at every project we get into. What does this do for you? What does this do for the residents of the Lake Bluff Park District? And that is who we are responsible to. We have a number of programs for seniors. We have the Senior Fit program, which is very popular, very active. We have groups of seniors who are on the golf course 3 times a week at least, playing out there in an organized fashion. We have golf leagues. We have pickleball, which seniors are playing in quite good numbers, with tournaments and so on. So we have really a lot of programs for seniors, and that's why we get so many seniors active in the Park District.
Thank you. Candidate Lane.
Again, I agree with Paul. Yep, we have a lot of different programs that we offer. The Silver Fit is a big one. There's usually about 15 participants in there. My mom was one of those users. She loves it. If you ever want to try it, you should give it a shot. Also, chair yoga is pretty big. It's always filled with participants. And again, we have different programs that aren't labeled Silver Fit, but throughout there's programs. And if anybody ever has an idea of a new program, please, again, email us. We're open to ideas. We have a universal email now that makes it easier so that it goes to all the commissioners directly. Again, we are open to ideas. Please feel free to email us anytime. Thanks.
Thank you. Candidate Martin.
Yeah, the answer to the question is yes. But I do want to go back to what was said earlier. RFP, for folks out there in the corporate world, RFP stands for Request for Proposal. It's not a contract, and our RFP was unsolicited. Basically, we did that as a test, the test of the legality of the wetlands proposal. We're not endorsing it. We're not, like John said, we're agnostic to it. We just wanted to make sure that we understood that and tested it to make sure we understood it properly.
Thank you. Candidate McCabe.
Another question I'm very happy to have. I think I can claim the ground of the most senior in age, at least, of the candidates sitting before you today, and I have lots of thoughts and needs about access to the facilities and the facilities that the park board offers. I've mentioned a few of them already. I would love to see the West Park developed for more seniors. There are a lot of us living over in that neck of the woods, and we were disenfranchised, the Knollwood residents, from the referendum because of the actions of this park board. But we would love to have some bocce ball. We would love to have some shelters. We would love to have some outdoor chess tables that would all bring more than just the single dog trainer I see every day out on those grounds. Also, I've mentioned previously, access to the pool could be greatly improved, and access to the beach. I am still able to paddleboard. I think I have a few more good years left there. I have no idea how I'm going to haul my paddleboard up and down that hill. So, yes, we can definitely improve.
Thank you. Candidate Beeler.
With using the pool myself, yes, there is a ladder going in and out, and I'm very thankful that it's there. I'm very pleased that we offer an ATV that takes people up and down to the beach. And I applaud everybody who's able to make it down there personally, but we make sure that we have staff there to help people of all ages. And Silverfit for seniors, everything that we can add that makes it self-sustaining and make sure that we have people who are interested in participating. That's what our park district is about. We want everybody to have fun in a healthy and responsible way.
Thank you. And Candidate Fawcett.
I agree with what Jennifer said. I'd like to say that I'm very happy that we've had this discussion about the RFP that we brought forward, because I think it perfectly elucidates the differences between the candidates. We think that that we need to look at every opportunity to help stop or fund our shortfall in funding. This is an opportunity to get $3.5 million. What I've heard from the other candidates here is that because it's a private proposal, we should not look at it. I think we should. I don't think that's an issue. I would ask the candidates if we would reject working with Golf Visions because they are a private company. I don't think so. There's nothing wrong with working with a private company. There is something wrong with not looking at ideas that potentially could generate $3.5 million to our park district.
Thank you. Well, our time has flown, and it's time for closing statements. So we'll give our timekeepers time to reset here. Give the candidates time to pull out their statements if they have them. We'll begin the closing statements. A reminder, they're 90 seconds. They'll begin in reverse order with Candidate McCabe. Are the timekeepers ready? They've been timing 1 minute at a time. Now we're back to 90 seconds. All right. Candidate McCabe.
Thank you for attending the meeting today, and thank you for your thoughtful questions. All of the voices within our community, young and old, need to be welcomed and valued by the Park Board. Meaningful, constructive dialogue will enable the board to form productive partnerships with government entities to resolve the considerable financial and infrastructure challenges it faces. Park facilities cannot be viewed as individual entities, such as only a golf course, but rather need to be seen as an integrated whole: pool, golf course, beach. Together, they constitute the fabric of our tightly knit community. Lake Bluff offers many outdoor recreational opportunities to every age group, and the Park Board is the key to those opportunities. Partnership possibilities abound with local, state, and federal groups that can provide revenue that the Park Board desperately needs. The current availability of funds has been described as a once-in-a-generation opportunity for funding. Other area park boards are working successfully with partner agencies, and we in Lake Bluff need to do the same. That's why I ask you to vote for the top 3 on April 4th. We're the top 3 in not just the ballot, but creativity, fiscal responsibility, and opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Martin.
Yeah. Thanks again to the League of Women Voters and to all of you who attended today's event. After answering your questions and listening to all the other candidates' responses, it appears you, the voter, have 2 very different slates of candidates. One that is promising more of the same, and one that includes a fresh perspective with innovative thinking and a strategic mindset to solve the Park District's $11 million shortfall. Throughout the afternoon, Connie, Don, and I have tried to contrast our approach against the current process. We've laid out a number of meaningful points. We have 3 innovative ideas that will help raise revenue and reduce cost. We have a platform focused on idea generation, building consensus, and working well with government agencies. We've developed a 100-day plan to residents so they can see exactly what they're going to get. We've also shown that we are problem solvers, finding a wetland developer to manage project risk and pay the Park District $3.5 million. If you want a more transparent, fiscally responsible, and innovative park board, the choice is clear. Vote for the top 3, Don Fawcett, Connie McCabe, and Rich Martin on April 4th, or earlier.
Thank you all for coming here today. It's been an honor to serve our community. Jennifer, Paul, and I believe that the Park District is an essential component of our community, bringing people together of all ages to enjoy healthy activities. As a mother of 3 who have grown up in Lake Bluff, I have seen firsthand the positive impact that the Park District has on our community. From the preschool to the golf course and over 400 programs, our parks offer a wide range of opportunities for everyone to get outside, stay active, connect with their friends, family, and neighbors. As commissioners, our priorities have been to make smart, informed decisions and implement policies that benefit everyone rather than driving personal interest. We believe our parks should be fun, safe, and enhance the health of the community. We are continually working hard to make our parks environmentally friendly, protecting wildlife, and promoting sustainability. We partner with Lake Bluff Open Lands Association to protect, preserve, and restore our natural areas. Our goal, improve environmentally sustainable practices, include an Audubon certification recognizing our golf course for its environmental stewardship, inspired by Lake County Forest Preserve's public golf courses, and partnering with the Village of Lake Bluff to move towards electric leaf blowers and other sustainable practices on all Lake Bluff Park District properties. I hope we've been able to convey our passion for the Lake Bluff Park District and our commitment to serving the community. With your vote, Jennifer, Paul, and I can continue to ensure that our parks and recreational areas are a source of pride and health for our community for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Greenfield, 90 seconds.
This afternoon, you've heard 2 versions and 2 visions for the Park District. Our opponent's version says that the current board has used nefarious means for keeping the residents in the dark about selfish plans that the board, for some unknown reason, has. Their vision is that they, and only they, have the way to raise many millions of dollars that no one else anywhere has been able to do, that can then be used to make the Park District great again. The version that Jennifer, Emily, and I have presented is that the Park District, through the dedication, leadership, and teamwork that our board has shown, has continued to be a terrific community asset actively used by a wide range of our residents, young, old, and in between. Our programs and facilities continue to be vibrant and inviting, providing enjoyment at a level comparable with larger and wealthier communities. Throughout the COVID pandemic, we were able to safely offer programs that gave our community a respite from the pandemic. Throughout all this, we have improved Park District finances to the best level they've been at for a number of years, helping to secure the assets that we all enjoy. Our vision is to be open to all of our residents, all ideas, and to understand that as commissioners, we have to continue to work hard, study, analyze, work with experts in relevant fields, cooperate with other community groups, and especially provide support to our terrific executive director and staff in order to keep our Park District thriving. Thank you all for attending this forum today. We look forward to having your support and vote in this important election.
Thank you. Candidate Fawcett.
This election is about the effectiveness and transparency of the current board. Since the wetlands issue has been the main focus over the last 2 years, let's look at where we are with that issue. First, the board is missing an opportunity to work with our local stormwater agency to raise revenue and keep the golf course. We gave the example of what Wilmette did and raised $3 million, retaining their parks just as they were. The relationship with the stormwater agency is so bad at this point that they have asked the board to retract statements for being false and misleading. This is the same agency that is working productively with our village on stormwater issues. The last 2 years have created divisions within our community that hopefully could have been avoided. Residents are uncertain as to whether this issue is even open or closed at this point. Meanwhile, today we brought forward a proposal to generate $3.5 million and take on all the risks that have been identified with developing the wetlands. We did that in about 2 months, spent 2 years now debating this. Our approach will be different. We will work hard to develop all ideas. We are committed to building consensus. We will work to rebuild the relationship with the Stormwater Agency and other government agencies that can offer us funding. In the last 4 years, this board has made no progress in addressing big issues like beach erosion and the pool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Beeler.
I do have a day job. My law partner and I have a very successful firm in Cook County and Lake County. I have 2 grown children, and I have a husband and 3, yes, count them, 3 dogs. I will tell you that some of the most ordinary and yet extraordinary moments of my life here in Lake Bluff have been about the Park District. It's picking my kids up, happy and sweaty, at the end of the day with a Park District camp. It's kayaking while my husband is trying to get wind in his sails with his sunfish out on Lake Michigan. And it's taking our 2 Bernese mountain dogs and our pug romping through the golf course on a snowy day like today. To have all that, you have to have a board that has something for you today as well as vision for the future. It's about being planning and responsible and being accountable. It's not about the last 3 months we did research. It's about putting in the hours to attend meetings. It's about analyzing budgets. It's about making those partnerships with other agencies. And it's about putting in that research so that we can get these ideas before the board. Bottom line, it's your tax dollars. It's your beach, it's your pool, it's your golf course, it's your Park District. I hope that what you've heard today from Paul Greenfield, Emily Lane, and I have given you a formed decision as to where you want the vision for your Park District Board to be. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is our thanks to your 6 neighbors who have stepped up to become candidates for the Lake Bluff Park District. So thank you very much. And thank you to Bill behind the camera. Thank you to the League of Women Voters of Lake Forest, Lake Bluff, all of the volunteers, the organizers, the question sorters, our timekeepers, Monica and Chris up front, and all of the organizers who pulled this together today. Please vote on April 4th. Thank you.